but even just following general best practices of understanding, show as much as you can in the main image and slap a keyword on it. And that's going to have a massive impact on your sales.
I liked how you talked about how maybe at the beginning of a product launch, you come out with a longer title. And then what you said, maybe over a period of time, you're going to shift it to a shortened title, because what you're saying is it's helping you increase your conversion rate. If I'm launching a new product, what are the life cycles of SEO for that new product launch?
Every year I come out with what I call SEO factor patch notes. So basically, we know that the algorithm has certain influencing factors. This is the first year that I didn't buff click-through rate, and I feel like I've got it right at 19%. And so every year for the past 5 years, I've buffed CTR and increasingly found it to be incredibly important. I think I've got it right at 19% and static. That is the most influential thing that somebody needs to focus on to grow sales on Amazon today. And so when you're launching a product, you need to have a main image that is incredibly crisp, to the point, shows all the accessories. If you sell a supplement, show me the pill. If you show the quantity of the goods, where it's manufactured, if it's made in America, throw an American flag on. Show me the ingredients. If you sell a soap, show me some flowers and all the good stuff behind the scenes. And so those are really, really important. The first time I've buffed organic sales in a while, and it seems like Amazon is increasing the importance of an organic sale on the SEO influence. So I put that at 21% and I buffed that 3% year over year. Mind you, all of these numbers are made up by Stephen Pope. They are not actual data-backed numbers. These are just what I'm putting my finger in the air and seeing. And you can go back and see how I've patched this over the years with different graphics. But 21% for organic sales, 19% for click-through. Those are the two biggest categories by a long shot. Conversion rate comes in at 13%, and I actually nerfed this slightly down 1% this year. And the reason for that is that we've consistently seen that Amazon has already solved for conversion rate. And so your ability to influence SEO through conversion has diminished slightly. And it's still important. It's still 13%. You got to have a good conversion rate. And most Amazon listings have a conversion rate between 8 to 12%. Unless you're selling a high ticket item, then your conversion rate might be 3%, and that might still be fine. But 8 to 12% is pretty consistent across the category. PPC sales at 12%, buff this 3% this year because we're seeing more and more ad formats come out. We're seeing if you don't run ads, then your organic sales go down. And this is something I previously nerfed 3 years ago. And we saw that Amazon was deprioritizing PPC, and they seem to be prioritizing it more nowadays. Just to round us out here, we got 11% for 180-day sales, nerf that by 3%. Amazon doesn't seem to care what happened 3 months ago. They care about what's happened in the last month. And it's very much that TikTok culture aspect. Recency is outweighing everything else. And then just to round us out here, 9% for offsite sales. TikTok's definitely going to be more important. If Amazon buys that or Microsoft buys that, that'll be interesting. And reviews at 5%. This is the one that most people disagree with, and it's a good talker. I nerfed that another 3% this year. I think I've nerfed it 3 out of the last 5 years, and I don't think Amazon cares about reviews anymore. They deprioritized the ability to generate them. They made it so you can't incentivize them. They just seem to be pushing new product over old school $20,000 review products by a long shot. 5% for sales internal, 3% for impressions. That means the more ads you buy, the more impressions you get, the more times you show up, the better your CTR, the better your SEO ranking. And finally, 2% for seller authority. It's a lot to take in. It's definitely a visual conversation here. The takeaway is that you really need to be focusing on CTR. It is the most underdeveloped aspect of SEO. So when you go to launch a product, absolutely be running some A/B tests on the main image, but even just following general best practices of understanding, show as much as you can in the main image and slap a keyword on it. And that's going to have a massive impact on your sales.
What would you do then in regards to the titles? Is that kind of the process then that you would follow, is like, hey, go long tail keywords to begin with, longer title, then shorten it up over time to influence that click-through rate and conversion rate?
So titles have a minimal impact on click-through other than that first 8 or so words. And most people are getting those intros to titles correct, which is why I don't preach too much about it. But yes, long title on launch, there's no question about that. It's the fastest way to index the product. So I run 4 phases of SEO. And in those 4 phases, phase 1 and 2 are all about indexing or incremental indexing. And so long titles are definitely part of that exercise. As the product matures, as you hit 1,000 keywords index, you can then accelerate into SEO phase 3, which is about strike zone keywords. These are words that are in rank 20 through 50, and you're going to rework the title at this point. You're going to rework the A+ content, the bullets, and all of the copy, etc. And the reason for that is because you've already indexed for as much as you can at this point. It's not going to move much more than 3% with maximum effort. So you need to start ranking for higher important keywords. And so you'll redo everything at that point. And then after you've got 50 keywords that you've worked the strike zone on, at that point, I would go to phase 4. SEO phase 4 is what I call the iCAP methodology: impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases, iCAP. This is a very awesome piece of data out of brand analytics in Seller Central. It's the most important data out of Seller Central that they've released in the last 3 years. And in there, you can see your click-through rate down to the keyword. You can see your sales down to the keyword. And by analyzing that, it becomes very obvious where you should focus. There's a really good ratio I like to preach about to affect SEO. If you have a really high click-through rate, but a low conversion on a product at a specific keyword, you know what to do. You go focus on conversion. In the inverse, if you have a really low click-through but a high conversion, you know what to do. Fix the main image. Often the case, what happens is that a lot of products will have both a high click-through and a high conversion, but they just simply have low impressions. And those are the easiest ones to fix. Just go spend some money on PPC and all of a sudden your sales go up. Additionally, you might throw one of those keywords onto the main image. So those are the phases that I run. At the end of the day, you have to do PPC. It's pay the piper to play, but SEO is where you make your profit. And so these are sunk costs. You have to make continual investments on. It's not set and forget it. It is a continuous optimization, and we'll rerun SEO phase 3 and phase 4 once a quarter on almost every product.
I think you just gave everybody a fantastic breakdown of what their team needs to be focused on managing their products on a regular cadence. You're talking about traffic. Do you have enough eyeballs and views and impressions? Number 2, do you have the click-through rate? And then do you have the conversion rate? Here's one of the nice parts I think that Amazon has given to us over the last little while, right? You have Amazon brand metrics that we can take a look at. We also have Amazon SQP data. Amazon's given us a lot more data where we can kind of gauge like what's maybe the click-through rate and especially the conversion rate for some of my competitors. I mean, Stephen, how do you understand like, oh, I have a high click-through rate or a high conversion rate? Are you comparing it to the market average?
You should be comparing it against your categories averages. And you can ascertain that now through the brand analytics. And the search query performance report is just so amazing. And one of my favorite things about this report is it's pretty sorted based on importance. You could almost, with no knowledge, just follow Amazon's recommendations for focus point and come out ahead. And name another program at Amazon where you can say that. Like, I can't. That's how good this data is. And people really are sleeping on it and they really need to analyze it. And that's why I call it the iCAP methodology or the iCAP marketing funnel: impressions, clicks, add to carts, purchases, iCAP. And it's an awesome way to focus your team because the math doesn't lie. It's good math. It's good science. And you can make a framework. A lot of times, I think the biggest struggle that Amazon sellers have is there's 1,000 things that they can do when they wake up every day. It's overwhelming. They don't know how to prioritize. And they just need somebody to tell them what to actually go and do. And this is a report that literally says, here is the very hyper-specific things you can do for maximum impact. Do these 2 or 3 things, and you're going to have more sales. Every Amazon seller needs to be looking at this report on a weekly basis and following its advice and taking action. And if you want to go higher level, just go fix your CTR, because no matter what you're doing right now, if you spend time on your main image, you're going to increase sales.
Your biggest quote unquote hack for the main image is like, hey, work in your most important keyword into that.
That's the one that's least done correctly, is adding a keyword. Take a product like the orange cleaner that Thrasio bought. It's a pet cleaner. All they did when they bought this product was add a keyword to the packaging, make it gigantic, and water down the product. That was it. Those are the 2 things that Thrasio did. They 7x the sales in 12 months. And by the way, that example is like 7 years old. They were one of the first to do it. I've seen it just time and time again. If you add more information to the main image and make it really easy to understand, show and tell both the product. If you sell a pet product and you don't put a cat on there, wow, you're missing out. If you sell a baby product and you can't get a baby in there, you're missing out. These are the things that most people don't understand or don't realize. Like, show and tell the product as much as possible. And the tell part is the keyword. If you have two products on screen and one has the keyword you just searched for and the other doesn't, which you're going to click on if all other things are equal, including price. You're going to click on the one that has the keyword. Just intuitively, your brain just does it. It reads it before you read it. And so that's why it's really important. And bonus fact, when you increase CTR, your ACOS goes down. And who doesn't want to spend less on PPC and get more results?
How do you then test your main image to know, oh, this one definitely is performing better? Are you just using Amazon's A/B testing, or are you letting that image run for 2 weeks and then looking at what? Brand analytics data, SQP data? How are you confirming this was definitely better?
We know for 100% certainty that adding more things to a main image will increase all aspects and all data. So we don't need to test something less versus more. We know more wins every single time. The things that I would test for would be a variation of the more. So for example, if you're selling a dog supplement, which dog type is going to perform best? Is it going to be a Labrador or is it going to be a poodle? A/B testing that in a tool such as PickFu is a fast way to figure that out. And you're looking for a 60-40 split at bare minimum to understand that that data is achievable or accurate. The things that you want to test on Amazon through their own A/B testing could be a radical change versus your status quo. If you change the packaging or if you change the demonstrated aspects or the feature you're pushing on the main image, those are the sort of things that I would A/B test directly in the Amazon portal, because you're not going to get as accurate of a data by using a PickFu A/B test. You need to have your actual consumer give you the data on that question. And then just as you mentioned, the SQP is a great way to monitor the results. So we know that if you add a keyword to the main image, that the CTR for that keyword is going to spike. If you add that keyword and the CTR doesn't spike, that's very odd, be very weird. But we've seen it just time and time again. When you add a keyword, it increases the CTR. When you increase the CTR, your impressions go up. When you increase the traffic to a listing and maintaining the accurate depiction of the product, your conversion also goes up. A lot of people just by default think, oh, I can't be slimy or scummy in my main image and Amazon's going to take my product down or consumers will hate it. Reality is completely opposite of that. Amazon is not going to take down a listing when sales go up. It just doesn't make sense for them to do that. Obviously, if you're making a medical claim that you cure cancer, they're going to have a problem with stuff like that. But in terms of just giving consumers what they want, Amazon loves that. Give consumers what they want. No matter what an Amazon policy says or a patent says, I usually ignore that information and I just give consumers what they ask for. And I firmly believe that it's easier to sleep at night just giving consumers what they want than trying to read 10,000 pages of help files where Amazon violates their own rules anyway. Selling on Amazon doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to make it easy for you. Just scan the QR or click the link in chat.